Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations, and I have a really fun card for you today where it looks like a standard card on the outside. When we open it up, it actually lifts and pops, and you're going to be surprised how easy this is to make. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to be using a new bundle. This is coming out next week. Hope you guys are all getting ready with your wish lists. Hopefully you have your new catalog by now and you've been able to flip through it, but that's only like half of what's coming. There's a bunch of new stuff going to be online exclusives as well. But this is one of the things out of the catalog. It is a suite, so there is coordinating designer series paper and all of that to go with it, and it's beautiful. And then I paired it with stylish shapes. You know me, I always am saying that you need to get basic shapes because you can use them with absolutely everything. And we're going to be doing some die cutting, and I've already die cut the flowers and the leaves we're going to be using, but I also went ahead and I cut this one and this one just to show you what they do. At first I thought this and this would kind of go together, and I don't know, they kind of don't. I mean, I suppose you could, arrange them as a bouquet or something, but they don't match up. If you want the little bells that go on these, then you want to die cut a bunch of this one down here in white, and you would adhere those over the top. For this one, because I want the stem to be green, I'm going to bring in some Stampin' Blends, and we're actually going to color the parts that need to be green. Like I said, these are the leaves I'm using. You could have also chose to use these. Of course, they do match up with the stamp, and then this one here would die cut that stamp, and we're going to do a couple of the little one down here to go with that one. But I just thought you might be interested to see what these ones do. Okay, I already have die cut this one, so that's going to be for our sentiment on the front. We will do a little bit of stamping and coloring with the little one. Then we're going to need our card base, which is just a standard 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. And then I have some designer series paper that I have cut to fit. And I wanted... These two are going to be on the inside. This was one sheet of designer series paper that had kind of this across the bottom and up the side, and then the top was blank. This fuller one here, this design went all the way around the whole 12 inches. So I'm going to use this one on the front, and then I'm going to use these two on the inside so they can kind of face each other. Okay. Then we're going to have our little mechanism pieces. So this one here is 8.5 by 1 1/4, scored at 1 inch, 3 3/4, and 4 3/4, and 7 1/2. And we're going to actually just fold this together, and it's going to make kind of a square or rectangle, I guess. So I wanted to make sure that's going to need a little bit of a trim there because I want to make sure that when I put it together, it's going to flip back and forth and go flat both ways. And then I have this little piece here, and this is 4 inches by 1 inch, and I made a mark at 1 inch, and then I did a score line at 2 inch. And I'm going to show you how we did this. The gal I watched do this was from Australia, Laura something. And she had actually scored in between here and then said, don't bend this piece. I had such a hard time with that. It's like I naturally want to burnish score lines. It just felt natural to me. So I didn't make that in the middle. I just made a mark. And then there are 3 pieces of the base color, which are 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And like I said, there are 3. And then I have 2 pieces that are 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 of the designer series paper. And I have one in basic white, 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. And then I have this little 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 that's going to decorate this right here. Okay, so the piece that I've already done here, like I said, I took a 1 by 4 and I made a little mark. So I just came in with my trimmer and put a little mark at 1, and then I came over and scored at 2. And then I actually laid mine in the trimmer, and I put that little mark there and that little mark there, and then I scored between the 2 of them. So that's one thing you could do. The other thing you could do is take a ruler, and you could lay a ruler between that little mark and the corner, and then you would use a stylus. So if you have your take your pick tool, it came with this additional piece. If we take out this one, there's the stylus. I'm going to use the smaller end, but I'm going to go from that corner to that point. And I'm just running it along the edge of the ruler. Okay, and then I'm going to go the other way from that point to that corner. And then once again doing that. So we're going to get the same kind of thing. And like I said, she had done a score here and then just ignored that score, but used it as the point that she scored off of. I don't know, it didn't work for me. But do whatever works for you. If you like this ruler, I've gotten lots of comments on this because it has the 1/8 of an inch little markings on it. Come on, focus. This I've had on my Amazon storefront, so I put that link in the description for you in case you wanted to go check that out. I get a little thank you from Amazon for sending you over there, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, let's see. What do we want to do? Let's start out just like I like to get a few little pieces out of the way. So we need to put our designer series paper down first before we add our mechanism. So that's going to be a no-brainer. We're just going to lay down our layers. Okay, and then we know this is going to go on the front. Okay, these little pieces here, we're going to stamp on the white, so I'm going to leave that off. It's going to need one of these bases. These ones can go straight on. And now I just feel a little more relaxed because there's not quite so many pieces all over my desk and not as much for me to lose. Okay, for our stamping, we're going to do happy birthday on the label. And then on the inside, we're going to do to one of the nicest people I know. And when I mount words like this, I always put them on a line on the grid. And then I set my block down on the grid, aligning that with a line as well. And then when I stamp, I'm going to set my paper on a grid line. All of that alignment should help keep me straight. Blackberry Bliss is the color they're using in here. So that's what I'm going to use for our sentiments. And I'm going a little high because there's not a lot of room for signing your name. And I also want to put that little flower at the bottom. So that just gives me plenty of room for that. This one, I'm just going to center right in the middle. When stamping on something like this where position is really important, you probably want to stand up and look straight down from the top so that you know that you're staying nice and straight. This is a dark color with some red pigment in it, so I want to make sure that I clean my stamps right away because the red does have a tendency to stain. So getting it off right away helps. It doesn't stop it completely, but at least it makes it not as dark. And I'm just using a Simply chamois that I've cut into 4 pieces. Okay, and then we're going to stamp our flowers on here, and I need a second one. We have this one here. I'm going to just do that in smoky slate, just for a subtle outline. And I'm okay with letting that one just kind of run off the edge. And this one I'm going to be die cutting, so I can put that on an odd kind of shaped scrap I found in my drawer. I'm going to color the bases with Stampin' Blends, and since I'm using Granny Apple Green for my base, that's the green I'm using. It was pulled from the designer series paper. That was one of the colors they used. And I'm going to bring in some scrap paper, and I'm going to just color this stem part of this die cut. So I know it's kind of hard to see with my scrap paper kind of being a mess here, but once I pull it off, you'll see. Okay, so I just took the green part, you know, the part that should be green, colored that in, left the bells in white. I'm going to do a similar thing with this piece. I'm going to go over the gray because obviously the stems on this are not gray, but it's a light enough gray that when I cover it with the green, you won't even see it. And then we're going to color in the leaves. And I'm going to use both the light and the dark. And you can choose to kind of follow the artist's intentions below here. This one needs a new tip. It's starting to like fold over a little bit. So if you have some that are doing that, you might want to check out my other YouTube video where I show how to replace the nibs on these using some I found on Amazon. Because it's, you know, I don't want to see that go to waste. There's still plenty of ink left in there, but I'd like a better tip. I don't know if somebody in class used it improperly or what happened to it, but it needs some help. I like the brush tip in because you can kind of flick with it. When you lay it down, you would kind of go this way, and then you kind of lift as you go. And as you do that, it starts out really dark at the base where you first laid down, and it lightens as it goes up. So it kind of helps with your blending. I'm also, I want to color the little bells. They are white. So I'm actually going to use just Wink of Stella. I did another card with this bundle, and I stamped the flowers onto, I think it was basic beige. And then I colored them using a white gel pen as one example, and then colored them using the white watercolor pencil as another one. So we can still get white even though we're stamping on a colored cardstock. And the white gel pens are coming back. They're in our next new catalog, so that was kind of exciting. We used to have those years ago, and then they took them away. I guess they weren't popular for a while, and now they've come back. Maybe it's all of the alcohol coloring that now we need the whites for the accents and stuff. There's a lot of times when, you know, something will disappear from the catalog, and I ask Stampin' Up, I'm like, what happened? Why did you pull that? That was so popular. And they said, not really. Apparently it was popular with my customers, but not overall as a company. And when things don't sell well overall, they get pulled because there's only so many SKUs they can have in the system or something. So, okay, almost done with this. And when I do the Wink of Stella, I'm going to add a little color on there. Did you know that you can take the Wink of Stella and you can make it other colors? I do it with an ink pad, you know, the ink from an ink pad. I don't go directly to the ink pad, but you follow my drift. But we're also, in the new catalog, we're going to have some kind of Wink of Stella. I think they call them something else, but they're in the new in colors. So we will have colored Wink of Stella, but just in our new in colors. But still, that's going to be fun. But I'm going to show you how to use it with any of our colors. If you registered for my Winnie the Pooh class, I'm still waiting to be able to order the material. But if you just got the video PDF option, those were mailed out earlier this week. I had somebody contact me today saying their email didn't show up. So if you bought the Winnie the Pooh class and you haven't gotten your email yet, let me know and I'll make sure it gets to you. If you did not buy it yet, but you still want it, you can still order the full kit through my link for the virtual classes. But if you just want the PDF and video option, there's an instant download now in my online store. Okay, so I'm going to take one of our colors and I'm going to just tap the block just a little bit. I just want to pick up a little bit of the Blackberry Bliss. I don't want much. I don't know if you can even see that, but there's very little. And then I'm going to drop a little of the Wink of Stella onto there and then swirl it around. And then I can use it on the tips. Probably should have gone on scrap paper first. It started out really dark. And I'm just doing the tips, but you can see how if you wanted to do this with, the whole thing, it would be really easy to just squeeze out some of the Wink of Stella onto that ink, swirl it together, and then you have colored Wink of Stella. This also works with the watercolor pencils. Rather than blending them with the water painters or something, you could blend it with your Wink of Stella and it'll make it sparkly. Okay, so I just want to put down a little bit at the tips, and then I'm going to squeeze this out onto my scrap paper and just kind of swirl it till it comes clear. And then I can go back in and do the rest of it. So I can make the top of it just sparkles, not purple sparkles. And applying the ink to the block like that is how I would do it if I was going to be watercoloring as well. It's a great way to get a little bit of the ink without messing up your pad at all. We used to be able to squeeze the top, into the ink pad itself, and the new cases are just a little bit stiffer. That didn't work as well for me. So just tapping a block in there worked better. You might also want to use the re-inkers if you need a little more color. So you're going to be watercoloring and you will need more of the color. Then putting a drop of re-inker either into the case lid or onto a block works well. And then I will often take a wet baby wipe and fold it all up and put a few drops of a couple different colors onto that with the re-inkers. And that's really pretty too. You get kind of a multicolor. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and die cut these using the coordinating die. Okay, so I'm just going to line that up. You may want to use a Post-it note to hold it in place, or some of the mint tape or washi tape, whatever. Something to just so it doesn't wiggle. Unless you're brave like me and I just run it through. I also had someone ask me about carryover items and what was going to carry over. We have a discontinued list, or so we know what's actually sold out and gone. If you're wondering if something will soon be gone, it goes to the last chance list first, and it will stay there for quite some time, usually. So if something is not was in the old catalog, is not in the new catalog, it might have just gotten moved over to an online exclusive. They said one of their largest expenses was having leftover stamps. They would have the last chance option, and things would officially retire as of a specific date, and then they were left with all of these stamps that didn't sell, and they would actually chop them up and use them. The red rubber was used as playground bark in Utah. Kind of an expensive playground. So the new system is supposed to help create less waste. All right. Now we're ready to start putting this mechanism together. That's what you're all here for, right? Okay, so we're going to decorate this mechanism part here with this piece. And in order to cut it to fit, what I'm going to do is lay it in my track. And if I do it at the bottom, it's probably the most useful because I can use these little lips here to hold my cardstock or my DSP in place. I'm going to drop my blade in the middle and go up and go down, because if I started at just one end or the other, I run the risk of kind of mashing that point, which I don't want to do. Then I'm going to take this and turn it to where the point is here, and I'm going to cut this one in half. And so these are the two pieces I'm going to use, and then I have an extra. And this is just easier to decorate or to put these little pieces on when it's flat, you know, before we adhere it to the card. The reverse tweezers might come in handy here for holding this in place. And I'm doing liquid glue, so I have time to wiggle, because it's a very skinny little border it's going to give me. And then this is going to be the part I'm anchoring on the inside of the card. And so this is where I want my other piece. So it's going to be the little triangle closer to that long section. And that's going to go right there. Okay, so just decorate that up before. Oh, and I have to remember, did I do the right side? No, I did not. I did that last time too. Needs to be this way, because we're going to have our triangle point towards the bottom. Okay, so if you did like me and you just put that on the wrong side, you can either, you know, peel that off, or we can just cut new pieces. Because I don't know, this may have dried a little too much. Yeah, I'm not going to risk that. Okay. I have another piece here, 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. I'm going to cut that diagonal. And this is fine. It's just going to decorate both sides, which is actually kind of fun that it's decorated inside. Doesn't need to be, but all right. See, I get to talking and I'm not paying total attention to what I should be doing. All right, so you want to decorate that first. You want the arrow pointing down, so make sure you're decorating this side. I made a mistake and did this way. So we don't want the arrow pointing up, we want it pointing down. Okay, and this little section I'm going to fold back like that. That's what's going to adhere on that side. We're going to be gluing that section down. But in order to know where to glue that down, we're going to do this one first. So I'm going to line up my arrow with the point going right at my score line. And then this, I want to flush this piece with the bottom. and then have that there. But I want just a little bit of a gap. So knowing that that's where I want it, I'm going to glue this piece down. And right now I'm just making sure it's, you know, at that area where that's going to match up. And then making sure it's flush with the bottom. But that one's gluing straight down. Okay, then I'm going to leave a teensy bit of a gap. And I'm just going to mark with a pencil. That's kind of where I want that tip to go. And I'm just giving a little bit, like enough room for a score line. Okay, that's all we need kind of in there. Then I'm going to put my adhesive here. And I'm aligning it to the side. Making sure I'm going down straight and coming across. Okay. Now we're ready for that second piece. Okay, remember I said we needed to make kind of a box out of this one. So I want to make sure that what direction I'm going with this. Because remember I said there was a little bit of excess one side, but not the other side. You know, logically it should match up exact, but you know, sometimes we're a little bit off with our scoring or something, but it needs to go both ways. Come on. So it's going to go back and forth. Burnish that out. And then this is going to go right onto that. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this kind of about in the middle of my square, but right at the end of this little stick here. And I'm going to put some adhesive right there. And then this is going to glue right onto that. So it's kind of almost flush with the top, just enough for a gap right there. Oh, I did this goofy. I knew there was something funky going. Okay, sorry. Goes this way. And then this way. So this is getting glued right there. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. That's right there, then this is right here. Then this. This is what I get for like only figuring this out this morning, right? Okay. So I'm making it flush with the end of my mechanism and giving that little bit of a gap. But then I could get glued all the way up. And then this piece is going to get glued on here. Okay. So I apologize. I put this square down first. Then I adhered this by doing just this little triangle. That part was glued down. Then I glued down one short side of our rectangle. And then I let our cross member go in between the rectangle and square 2. And then glued all of square 2 up that side of the rectangle. And then square 3 is glued onto the top of our rectangle. Okay, does that make sense? Do I have questions? Okay, for the front, I'm just going to put down that, oh, and we have these. Sorry, I knew that looked kind of blank. Okay, these are going to go on those simple squares above and below our sentiment. And then I'm going to put the larger one on the front of our card. And I'm going to put that one on with mini dimensionals because they're just the right size to fit behind the little bells of our Lily of the Valley. I love these little mini dimensionals. I know we haven't had them that long, but I sure use them a lot. I must have been cutting the old ones up a lot in order to make them fit little things like this. Okay, so I can just kind of decide where I want it to fall. And then I'm going to peel off the backings. And I'm not going to worry about the stem. It's too skinny to have anything behind. So we'll just kind of anchor it at the bottom before we put our leaves on. So I could easily put a little something there. And then these leaves will go over the top of it and kind of hide, you know, a mini glue dot or whatever we decide to put there to hold it in place. Or we could just put our dimensionals under here and then set that right on top of the stem. Kind of get a 2-for-1. So if I match up that with our dimensional, Okay, and again, the ends look a little funky in order to make my leaves lay out where I want them to up here, but that's going to be okay because we're going to cover that up with the sentiment. I have that banner with our happy birthday. I want this to go across the bottom, and it's going to kind of overlap where there's dimensionals right here. So I can safely add dimensionals at either end, and then that'll keep it the same height of what it is in the middle. Did I use Wink of Stella on the big branch of the bells? No, I did not. I used just the Granny Apple Green Stampin' Blends. I did not put Wink of Stella on there. You could very easily, but as of yet, I have not. So there we go. There is our triple pop-up. So I hope you love it and you give it a try. And then I will be back on Monday with another one, another fun fold card. So thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you guys watching and commenting and liking the video. Anytime you guys give me any kind of feedback, it helps the algorithm help me get found a little better. So all of those likes and shares and comments all help, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.